So welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to do a breakdown and line choice video because I've been getting quite a lot of requests for it. So we're going to pretend that this is an enduro race. So typically enduro, you've either got like a start point and then you've got another set, and that's where the lasers are, where your time starts, or you've got to do like a watch or like a key card and you've got to buzz yourself in. So if you can imagine, if you start, there's a nice route here. If you were starting here, you would maybe on a laser race, you'd have maybe about to here, a couple of feet, to get yourself going up, and then your time would start here. So an important thing to look at when your start point is where the trail goes in the first bit, to how hard you pedal in, to know, because you would rather go in slower and come out faster than really go in for it and then lose all your speed in the corner, stall, and you've lost more time than you actually did if you were to go in easier. So another thing to consider when you're racing enduro is the length of the stage. If you crank it in and you've got a big sprint here, but you've also got one there, there and there, you're going to tire yourself out before you've even started the trail, and it's not going to have a good impact on the rest of your riding. So we started just there, so we're going to take a walk down. As you can see, there's nothing technical on this first straight, so that means that you can just focus on getting pedaling and get yourself set up for the corner. When you get to the corner, it's a pretty sharp right hander, but you've got a wee bit of line choice. You could either go inside at the puddle right there, or you can go high and outside all on the grass. You've got some rocks on the entrance, pretty grippy, but you wouldn't know, so keep an eye out for the rocks because it could be slippy, you could front wheel wash out, etc. So when you get here, there's your exit of the corner just at the rocks. So if you go middle, you can see the trail up until that point. Just there, the trail is taking you straight on. If you come here, you can see that the trail, when you rejoin it there, there's a corner. So you want to get up here to open up the corner, because if you go in here and you keep coming through, you've got to then make a corner here and you're going to have to brake, or you might be able to do it brakeless, but it depends on your riding ability. Because if you come here, you're not going to have to brake because you've got already a nice corner into it, and you've got much faster and straighter line into the next corner to get set up for it. Quite important thing to remember in enduro is you've got quite a lot of stages, and the stages are generally pretty long. So you want to kind of memorise important bits, not everything, because you can't really do that, and it's pretty impressive if you can. So remember like key aspects, like tricky bits, or where you've looked at a line to remember for the stage, because it'll make a huge difference on remembering wee important bits than trying to memorise the whole trail, because you'll just get confused. So we're going to start front wheel on here, and for this first bit I know that I'm going to sprint in and get a nice high line onto the grass to make the corner open. There's the next bit we've not looked at, but we're going to try and keep the wheels as low as we can, because you don't want to pop off it because you get blown with the wind, or you could slide or you lose speed. So basically we're just going to take a nice wee sprint in. The wind's pretty bad, so high up here because it opens a corner out there. You can just hear me over my brakes. So as you can see, I didn't have to touch the brakes through that corner because I opened it up nicely. So we're going to look at the next bit of track. So as you can see, we just went over it. You can actually see my tyre marks just round there, which is good because you wouldn't want to go down there because you could get stuck in between the rut, or even you could just catch a wee bit in the rut, go over the bars, whatever. So you've got this next bit. Again, you got loads of line choice. You got a nice visible outside, sorry, a middle and an inside. Couple of things to watch out for. You got a big stump here, which it's not going to move for you. Looking at the inside, you've got loads of routes, quite a rooty section, whereas this side you can see there's a lot less routes in it. If you come up to where you will be riding into it from, you can see that if you come in here, you've got to make that corner round and you've got to turn again, whereas if you go straight on, you're meeting where the left line starts to straighten up. So it's pretty obvious, it's less rooty, it's much faster, and you're straight into the next section. Again, this one, you got quite a wee bit of line choice. You've got an outside and an inside. You probably just want to stay on the main line just because simplicity, it's much easier. And then you come here, you've got quite a big rock. If you come around to the other side, you can see it a bit better. Quite a big rock roll, or drop, however you take it really, with again an inside and an outside line. You want to just aim your tyres right for the middle of it, just unweight the bike and land on the inside of the corner, because you don't want to land in there because you've got quite a few like sort of pinball bits in there that you could hit your rims off or anything, because you've got rocks sticking out and just weird bits. So if you land there, as you can see, if you go down, it's all very mellow and just a nice exit out. So we're just going to go from the bottom of the first bit. Not going to have loads of speed, but it's only for the video. So getting down here, nice and inside here, hop that route just to avoid it, in here and up. Super easy, as you can tell. You can hear, especially with the brakes squeaking. Didn't touch the brakes too much, especially going over wet rocks and roots. You do not want to be on the brakes dragging them because you get less grip. So really just on and off when you need to, no dragging. Once you come out of this section, you've got a wee bit of line choice. You've got an inside and an outside. The outside's a lot more turning, the inside's a wee bit techy. As you can see, you got a big, that's a big rock sticking up. That again, if you're running the wrong tyre pressures or anything, that's going to just go straight through to your rim and that's your race over if you've not got spares with you. So you're going to want to, there's quite a few different ways to go, but if you look over there, you do not want to fall down there. It is not very nice. Always gives me a bit of the heebie-jeebies coming along here, to be honest. So you really, there's a couple of lines, that's obviously the safest line, but you've kind of got a like middle line, just straight going through here and avoiding the big rock just around the outside, and then again cutting through the middle of those ones. Or you've got a very high inside, but again, as you can see, people catching their pedals and stuff there. So I think for me, I would be always taking the middle line, sets you up pretty nicely, not too much hassle. So we'll move on to the next bit. Hopefully you saw that when I was riding that section. Again, as we come along here, this bit isn't overly technical. As I was saying about the start though, this is where you would want to remember that you've got a sprint to save a wee bit of energy, because you've got a slight incline, wee bit of uphill as you come around the corner. Here, there's not too much line choice really, you've kind of just got the one track with an outside inside. Here, you'd want to go high over the roots to avoid them. And then this is quite an interesting bit. You've got an outside and an inside again, which we'll take a look at just now. As you can see, the inside is pretty techy as far as comparison to this one, because you've got no roots really there and you've got loads of roots on this one. So if we come back a bit to where you would be seeing it, you've got, obviously it's much straighter. If you come around the corner, what I would do is you come wider around here, so you would take it as if it was a berm, nice and wide, and where this tree is here, you're going to want to cut up, because it just takes a wee bit more turning out of it. As you can see, it's all about opening up the corners. So if you get up here, and then you're going to come down and just down there, so it's going to open up really nicely. So we'll go and do that just now. So back to this section, as you can see, just nice and middle through there. Again, save a wee bit of energy for the sprint. To the corner nice and wide, up nice and high, and it just opens it up really nicely. Just makes it a lot less turning involved, faster throughout. Obviously you'd have a bit more speed if you were carrying it through the normal trail, but couldn't get up to too much from where I started. So we'll look at the next section. So the weather's pretty miserable, but we've got the next section, so you can see my tyre marks. We'll be coming in here. So as you can see, pretty techy, especially in the wet. It's more hail and snow, it's pretty gross. But you would want to come around to the outside of this, because that's where the least amount of roots are. That's all about the game, is missing the roots. Come up high, so over this wee hump to avoid the roots again. Also opening up your corner, and then here you've got quite a bit of line choice. You've got an inside there which would be very hard to hold, because when we go around the corner you'll be able to see it gets extremely tight through there, so it'd be a very hard line to hold. You've got an outside and you got a nice inside. This I wouldn't recommend because you got trees, which again could get your eyes and distract you more than it's actually worth of just going around the outside of the corner. So my line, you kind of take the inside, but instead of following it through like some people would, you kind of keep going through the inside here, and then just where that stump is here, I'm going to cut up high and cut back into the rest of the trail there. So let's give it a go. So let's give this section a go. I can get clipped in, there we go. So we're going out, up high over here at the green bush we're cutting in, and that's us. Again, as you can see, there's not too much braking, it's not overly techy, pretty good section. Opened the corner up nicely, so quite a good section really. So this next section, some people might be familiar with it from Danny McCaskill way back home I think, where he did the step up just out of view, case front flipped it. It was pretty crazy to be honest. So next on the step up, you've got quite a limited line choice in here, but when you get here, as you can see, it completely opens up. If this was slightly more easier to go and a wee bit more consistent, because you've maybe, as you can see, you've only got about a foot each way on this first bit to get up, but after that, if you popped off there, that would give you such a nice line through here, because as you can see here, you've got some stones, you've got quite a tight trench to get through, you've got rocks you could hit, whatever, especially those ones there. I've had quite a few issues in the wet, then when you try to pop off them to miss them, your front wheel just catches them ever so slightly, and it's pretty scary to be honest. So this, if this was a wee bit more built up, this would be the prime line, because you could just get up on it and just hop off it. Obviously, as you can see, you don't really have a lot of wiggle room, and quite a high chance for something to go wrong really. So the line really is to come down here, and then at this point you want to just go straight through the middle, and there's like a wee sort of drop there that you just sort of scrub to try and keep as much speed as you can. There's nothing really too technical as far as it goes after there. You just sort of want to keep your wheels as straight and carry as much speed through there as you can, because you can slide on those rocks. Another wee line you could do is up there, but again, it's a very hard one to get onto. You've got a fully outside line, which again, for a less confident rider, is probably the best way to go, because you avoid most of these rocks and stuff like that. That it's a much safer route to go around. When you get here, after this bit, you can obviously see you've got three lines, one popping off that, which again, it doesn't really set you up very well. If you're going slower, it's fine, because you can just go off the rock drop. The fastest line is definitely through the outside in there. If you go around that side, as I'll show you in 2 seconds, you end up actually just sort of cutting yourself off, because you've got to then avoid all these rocks. As you can see, this rider, whoever this was, has came round here and round this side, so they've made a lot of braking in between here to get round. As you can see, it's not very forgiving. I've dinked a couple of rims going through here before, but yeah, don't go that way. Just, you don't even have to pull up or anything off this, you just let the drop do all the work and just scrub it. You want to land before there to keep as much speed as you can. Looking back, it's obviously a wee bit intimidating looking if you see it from down here for a new rider, but again, as I said, just straight down where the water takes you and off the drop. So let's give it a go. A really weird bad habit I've got into in this section, I don't even realise that I'm doing it, but I tend to death grip this bit, where I just take my fingers off, because I'm very confident on it, I'm very comfortable at the speed, but don't do that if you see me do it in this video. I'm not even aware that I'm doing it, so do not follow my lead, because it's not a good idea. So again, we'll just take it again just down here, straight through the rocks, just nice and controlled. Scrub this bit and you got a nice line through there. There's nothing techy as far as this goes, you just want to stay out of these rocks, and this is our next section I'm going to take a look at. So when coming into this section, you're coming in very fast, because you got a big bomb hole here to generate speed. And obviously, as you can see, try and keep this lens as clear as I can, but it's a bit hard with the weather. You've got an awful lot of line choice: low line, middle, high. So there's a lot to look at here. You've got quite a lot of different condition suited lines as well. That this one in the wet is not very good, because this stuff here is just so hard that your tyres just can't grip into it. As you can see, it's just, they're just compact and it's not really letting your tyres, the knobs dig in. So you do not want to go on that line too much if you're not skilled. There's another line here that you've got, but you've got some roots pointing down the trail which you're going to have to try and cross, and that's not going to end very well, especially you're landing on off camber. You've not got much support at all. So again, I wouldn't recommend that line. You've got, as you can see, my tyre track's just stopping there. You've got a high line here, which again, off camber, roots to cross. You've not really got any support to make the corner either. So again, I wouldn't recommend it. The line I would recommend is following down this line, just keeping wary that your tyres haven't got a lot of grip. And here, again, you've got more line choice. You could hop up there, but you're going to really slow down as you try to go up the hill. So follow it through, just get up here, pop, or just unweight up here to help your bike, just less pressure on the tyres to grip a wee bit more, and then just straight through. So we're going to come all the way down here. When we get to here, up and round the tree. Again, on the exit, you've got some roots and stuff, so try and get as far inside as you can, and just watch out for that little root that you're going to have to cross at the end. So we're just going to go from here. So into the section, just remember that your tyres don't have a lot of grip up here and round and down that side of the route. Here you just want to get your front wheel up, and again, this section's pretty techy as far as routes go, but you just want to get in a nice middle gear and pedal through it. Here you got some line choice. You can either go inside, pretty puddly, so we're going to avoid it today, but you've not really got too much to worry about. Clipless pedals definitely help through here, just gives you a wee bit more power to get through the routes, avoiding the puddles. And again, when you get here, you got a wee bit of line choice. Outside is the best, and then you come into the root garden, which we'll take a look at. So this is the root garden section. As you can see, I took an outside line there, a wee bit of a corner to get into it, but as you can see, if you're coming in here, you've got, it's a bit tighter, whereas if you're here, you've got a much straighter line in. You've got quite a few roots and stuff here, which again, you want to just try and pick the straightest line through, which is right in between or on this side, and just get as straight over them as you can, because you've got less chance of sliding at that point. When you actually get to the root garden, you've got quite a lot of line choice. You've got an off camber line here, which is pretty straight, to be honest. A wee bit dicey at the end because you're quite close to the tree. You've got a middle line through here, which is pretty straight. You got a bit of a corner there, so again, I wouldn't recommend turning there. Whereas if you can get straight through and go in between, there's two little like devil horns of wood. If you can just get through the middle here, it's a pretty perfect line through, and just try not to catch your wheel too much through there. That's probably the best line, as it's the straightest and the least techy line. You've got an inside line which doesn't set you up well at all because you've got a corner and everything else. So we'll go up just to the start of the section and go straight through the devil horns and down. So in general, it's not an overly techy trail, but by just looking at line choice and breaking the trail up a wee bit, there's a lot of time that you can save by just being a wee bit more adventurous than looking on the trail. So again, just nice and straight through these, just nice watching the rounds through there. I did miss the devil's horns, but again, it's not too key. As you can see, it still worked very nicely, not a hassle, loads of grip. So that's pretty much it for the line choice analysis video. I'm sorry I can't really do it on a more techy or longer trail because of COVID and everything. I'm kind of, well, I am restricted to my local trails, So hopefully soon we can get into some more exciting and adventurous trails